The S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100, that's what we're talking about here today. So really quickly, though, I want to give you guys a look at what I'm looking at, and then ultimately we'll move very quickly into the stocks we're looking at going into this week. Yesterday, you can watch that video if you want me to go over the Nasdaq and things I'm looking at there. So I said I'd go more over equities today. Just really quickly to mark out a few of the levels that we have been watching and will continue to watch. Just to give you that little bit of an idea very, very quickly here. So you can see where all these levels come from, where they stem from as well. And you're just really marking out these local highs. And we can see in a few of these levels, you're going to be able to mark out some of the zones that are established there as well, just so you know. So you can really see where all of these companies actually bring this one a little bit back as well right there. And this is basically where you're at right now and the range that you're operating in, okay? Now, this level right here, 1996, is one of your biggest levels, in my opinion, because it's where you were getting rejected all throughout August or the end of August going to the early September right there. You can also see where you got rejected back there. You can see the SR flip to when we lost this level, go back into July, early going into August as well. So we start seeing massive selling. You can see this is just your biggest level. It's very, very clear where there's been a lot of buying and selling happening. So the fact that we were still holding this level throughout the beginning of the week and going into the end of the week was really good to see. So you saw a lot of those dips go into that level and then ultimately bouncing on Monday, going into Tuesday. So those are really good things to see. So off rip there, I'm going to remain pretty bullish looking at overall markets, specifically tech as well. Okay, the SPY is really simple to look at here. Don't need to mark out too much. You've seen the previous all-time high from July, higher lows established over the past week or two. You're still holding that. You're holding above your previous all-time high there as well. We want to see that mount and hopefully get back above. This has been your new local level here as well. It's a smaller level, but it's still a level around 57.97. So above that level, you're very bullish pushing into high. So ultimately, again, end of the week, you look good. Now, we're going to go into to equities, options, etc. But before we do that, let's jump into a few little pieces of news. I covered a little bit yesterday, but yeah, we've talked a lot about what's happening with the Chinese market. China, this is last night, China tells banks to start cutting rates on existing mortgages. So we know they already had the big rate cut, and we know that they're going to continue. This is not a one-time thing. They're going to continue to have these rate cuts happening in China, trying to stimulate the market. We saw what happened when China started making that move, right? The Chinese market boomed. You had a really nice pop up there. We saw this happen with Chinese stocks, which is something we're going to talk about today. Baba, Pinduoduo, which is, in my opinion, one of the weaker Chinese names, but bouncing very strong. YY, Baidu, etc. You can go on these giant list of names, right? All had monster reactions. So as this continues to happen, and it's clearly looking like it's going to continue to happen, you have to anticipate Chinese names to have some of that relative strength, okay? Now, going into this week as well, I didn't cover this yesterday either, but you do have a little bit of news coming in. So you have Fed speaker speaking, Joel job openings, but I think the biggest thing will be non-farm payroll, ADP non-farm employment change happening there, and you should have your non-farm payrolls, I believe initial jobless claims, very quickly, PMI data, yeah, non-farm payrolls on Friday, okay? So understand that. That will be big, happening at the end of the week. Probably your biggest day. Your non-farm payrolls and your unemployment rate. So those are the number one things that you're looking at going into the end of this week. Just keep that back of your mind. I'll keep you guys updated throughout the week as well. Now, going into equities, what we're looking at clearly here. Okay, and just really quickly for SPY, so you have it. I mean, SPY, you're just sitting at all time. As long as you're above 565 on SPY, I'm like very, very bullish. Just understand that. So, equities, what are we looking at now? I'll go into let's start with Chinese names. Let's start with Baba. This has been a large discussion for a while. In my opinion, on Chinese names have really remained the same, right? There has been no real change with my overall thinking and how I've really looked at these names. I think Chinese names like Baba specifically are extremely undervalued. When you look at PE ratios, the value of their earnings, you just look at everything, operating expense, how much revenue they're actually bringing in. It doesn't make sense why they're so cheap, except the fact that China's market looked terrible and still looks pretty terrible. Okay. Immediately when China gets any type of stimulus or the indication the Chinese market might bounce, Baba goes insane. Now, in my opinion, on Baba, very simple chart. You're looking for a hold above 104, 105, and ultimately getting that push into our target, the 200 weekly SMA near 120, 121. Very simple chart. Okay. Now, I have said this for a while. If you're going to trade Baba or these other names, you want to have time. I think that is no longer the case here. If you're trading China, I don't think you want an extreme amount of time. You don't want to get stuck in a position because IV is high here. Okay. So maybe you go into December's. I could justify even going into November monthlies. I'm going to be totally honest with you. Again, I'm targeting that 120, 119 range. So again, that's what I'd be looking at. Giving you food for thought. Highs in these contracts around 415. Do with that as you will. So that's what I'd be looking at there on BABA. But understand, like IV is very high. So if you start dipping, you are going to pay the price if you're forcing these types of trades. People asking about Pinduo Duo. You look better. Don't get me wrong. You lost your 200 SMA and then you remounted. Awesome there. But the concern for me is, why did Pinduo Duo dip in the first place? Was it because of Chinese markets, or was it because of competition coming into the space with Amazon and them trying to dethrone them? Yeah, it was that. It wasn't really Chinese markets. Pinduoduo killed it, even though Chinese markets were weak. It was because they were just so strong with TikTok and what they were doing there. And Temu's been obviously thriving. Be careful. That's all I have to say here on Pinduoduo. It's my least favorite of the Chinese names. But I'll say, if you hold your 200 SMA on the daily here, 131, 130.7, I'm looking for a push into 150, 152. Makes sense. I'm not going to go over the options here because I hate the position, but do with that as you will as well. Okay. Baidu, last name I'll mention. I think Baidu is actually really interesting here. Holding the 200 SMA, if you can get above locally 107, I like that as well. Pushing into local highs of 112, 114. But be patient there. Okay. That's enough of the Chinese names. I don't need, blood pressure is rising. ARM, semiconductors. I think semiconductors are a hot topic. And I'm not talking about the store. I could really talk about these semis for a while. I really, really could. Overall, we'll come back to ARM, but SMH holding above 239 was massive. Now, there's a few levels in here, don't get me wrong, but your big levels are very, very clear. 239, 256. Those are your major levels. If semis can mount over 256, right, I'm very, very optimistic you will push quickly into the high 260s. Okay, again, you get that VRVP. There's not as much. You have a little liquidity here in this range here, but you have a large gap. You can start pushing up with ease back into those highs. Personal opinion, do that as you will. Going back into ARM, we've talked a lot about some of these semiconductors. Two of the semiconductors that have moved very good are TSM and AVGO, pushing back almost into their highs. Now, when I look at ARM, okay, I'm telling you right now, above 149, I'm very optimistic of a push to 154, 157, but ultimately back into that big high hit back in February, which is like 164. Very, very, very bullish on the name. Okay, they've done very well. I'm just very optimistic about them, guys. Okay, Nvidia, not something I'm looking to trade short term here. Just to let you know, again, long dated contracts on Nvidia, the best trade in the market in my opinion. But you potentially could be getting the bump and run, the break retest of the trend line, looking to push back up above 130s when you get your confirmation. That's really the story here of what you're looking for. No reason to overcomplicate it at all. There's literally zero reason to overcomplicate this trade. Over 130, you are very, 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 very bullish. Okay, understand that. Going into the options chain there on ARM. Also, to you guys, if you are interested in using the broker that I use, this is Moomoo. I use them in every single video when I'm talking about options or looking at trades. I use them in my live stream. It's who I use for literally everything. The link is down below. Make sure you check them out. They have a lot of bonuses as well when you sign up. But again, on ARM, I like November contracts, a little bit shorter dated. Personal opinion there. You can go to December and go to more dated if you want. It's up to you. I like moving in towards 160. Personally, I think honestly you can move towards 170. Telling you right now. So again, what I'd be looking at, again, you can go shorter dated if you want. Just be careful. Understand the risks that are taking place there. Now, AMD is probably one of my favorite setups going into this week, depending on how we come out. Okay. If we can get a retest and a mount of the 200 daily moving average here, it is probably my favorite chart. It is my favorite chart if you get the retest of that. Okay. Something really simple here on AMD. Like, there's no reason to overcomplicate some of this stuff. But AMD structurally moves very, 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 very similar. Like, it does the same thing over and over. And again, it's not the same exact chart, but you get the overall trend. You get a downtrend and you break out. You get a downtrend and then you break out. You get a down, and this is probably your widest downtrend, but then you break out. Okay. Over and over and over and over and over and over again. Okay. If AMD can break out and really just hold above its 200 SMA, I am very bullish here on AMD. I think this could easily get back into 185, 180 range. Okay. Beyond that, most likely. But again, like them a lot, what I've been looking at. A lot of you guys are interested in Intel. I think Intel is probably my downtrend. It's my downside name actually on semiconductors. I'm not looking to go long on Intel. I don't know what could justify them to go long. They're not going to get acquired. They already said they're not interested in an acquisition. Again, you're retesting 2023 lows. If there's ever been a time to go short, in my opinion, it's here. But again, don't like Intel, not interested at all. Please stop tagging me in that stock. Not interested whatsoever. Tesla's a beast. Honest to God, massive beast here. We've talked a lot about this. Above the 200-day weekly moving average, you were bullish. I think now you got to get a little bit patient until you can get above 265, 266. But even then, you have a little bit of resistances up here. But Tesla looks really good. I'm going to be totally honest with you. Tesla looks phenomenal. Looks very strong here. I like them a lot. Be patient here, but I like them a lot. If you can get over 266, Robotaxi event, a lot of catalysts there for the name. Meta stock, day trading wise, one of your best names as well. And very simple chart to look at. So there's a few things that I was looking to go long on this on Friday, Thursday. I don't know what day it was, right? Above 5 and above this previous high here, you're going to push into most likely 580 plus. Short term though. Support here, 564, big level. Hold that level, look very strong. Okay, so as long as you're above 564, you look good. You get below this level, you can short it down to 556, maybe even lower. Okay, so again, what I'd be looking for there. Netflix continues to hold 701, which is a good sign, but I want to see 711 to get bullish. Above 711.8, I'm pushing back into highs, or at least 720. Okay, what I'm looking for there. Apple, in my opinion, has so many reasons to drop, but it doesn't. You continue to bounce at every support. 215, get above 217, 224. These are good signs. If you get below 224, I could see us falling down. Below 217, I could see us falling down to 215. Below 215, get really bearish. But in the meantime, you can't go short until you start getting a reason to go short. Right? I say this all the time, even though I don't like the name right now. Unless they're like, clearly hiding some data from us here, as far as it goes with what's happening with iPhone sales, I don't know. But so far, it's been nothing but bad news out of the gate from there. So definitely paying attention to that one. Kind of scary. SMCI, also one of my least favorite names out there. I think it's totally a fraudulent company. I have never thought a company was fraudulent as much as I think SMCI is fraudulent. The 480 rejection of previous lows was disgusting. Congratulations. We're going to get some more information from the DOJ pretty soon, most likely, too, about their investigation. But SMCI won't release a 10K. None of their data seems legit. It seems like a scam if I've ever seen one. I'd be looking at downside immediately with any type of sellers stepping in there as well. Okay. Again, those are my favorite names. Google looks good above 164. If you get back in the range, don't trade it. But again, the names I'm liking, the names I'm watching. Okay. I'll have some more stuff on Twitter as well. Make sure you're following. And guys, if you're interested too, there are spots available right now on our website. Again, once they sell out, they sell out. But again, they are there. If you are interested, take advantage while you can. Link will be on Twitter as well. Have a good one, traders.